In the previous lecture, we were able to create the user interface, add the actions to send the data to the code, and now that we have grabbed and intercepted the text entered by the user, we need to send it to the LM Studio backend. So in order to do that, we're going to work on the AI Manager interface. So we don't need the user interface at the moment, so I'm just going to close it. And we're going to focus on the AI Manager interface. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so that you guys can see better. And let's go ahead and work on this. First, what we need is an API key. Why? Because if somehow you are planning to use at some point another backend, in the sense that if you want to use OpenAI, you can still use OpenAI. But for us, we can leave it empty for now. Then we need the server base URL. So server base URL, that's the URL for our code, which is, if you guys remember, we are using this one. So whenever I will create the instance, I will use this. Now, if you are, you have something a bit different, but if you're using ngrok like me, it will look more or less the same as that. And that's of type string as well. Then we need to initialize or create a way for people to initialize this. And here we go. The code is already typed for you. That's exactly what we need. So we don't need any more than that. That's great. Xcode is getting better at doing these things. All right. Now what we need is a function to interact with the backend. So func, and let's call it for now generate text with local server. It's not really just a local server because it's open to, so let's call it private server. It's probably better for now with private server because it is our own server and we need a prompt. So the prompt is the text, right, that we're capturing from the user. Then we need a system message. The system message is a way to direct or guide what we want. And if you guys don't remember what the system message, please go back to the earlier lectures where we're going through this. And then let's create the completion. The completion would be, so whenever this is done, we need to send the results to the front end, to the text view or the text area of the front end. So we need a way to do this asynchronously. So that's why I have a completion and escaping. And we'll have a result that's inside. You have a string, and the string would be the text, the result of the prompt. And if somehow it doesn't work, then we'll have an error. And that's it. Then let's make this void because this function needs to run async, and open and close the curly brace. There we go. That's the method signature. So again, the method signature has the prompt, the system message, and the way to come back from the results asynchronously with the completion. So let's build. So let's build the API network request, the payload. Okay. So what's inside of the payload? So let request body is of type string, and it can be anything. Why? Because it could also be a picture or an image, right? So make sure that we have, we can in the future, if it's not just text, it could be also an image, right? So it could be a base 64 encoded image to interact with the Vision LLM. If you're not sure what the Vision LLM is, please go back to the previous lectures. We're going through them, and we are also encoding the image to base 64. So you can take a look at how it's done. And this is equal, I'm going to open and close the curly brackets because this is an array of requests. And inside of this, we have, we need to follow the way we interact with the code. And how do you know how to do this? Well, you can look here I have Visual Studio Code open, but you can look in the example. As you can see here, this is what we need, right? We need something similar. We need the message with the role and so on, right? So we need to follow this. But it's a little bit different because now it's for Xcode. So it's not exactly the same payload. The payload is specific to Swift. So the message, and inside of the message, there will be another array. So open and close the curly brackets. Here we go. And inside of that array, we need each row is the system message and the user message. So first is the role system, because that's what we're going to be guiding with. And the content would be, what is the content? Well, the content is the system message, right? So you can copy and paste this here. All right, so that's what we need for the system message. Now let's create the user message. So open and close the curly brackets. And inside there will be again a role. This time instead of system, that would be the user. That's the most important one, the entry from the user, which is what is the height of the Statue of Liberty in this specific example that we had earlier. And then the content is, what is the content? Obviously, yes, is the prompt. So, right, prompt. Okay, there's a few more things we need, and I believe you guys can see it here. We need the temperature, right? So let's write this down. So put a comma here and write temperature. And let's put the very common temperature, 0.7. So it's not too creative and it's not too strict. And then max tokens, well, we don't need to stop until it has the complete answer. So -1 means that it creates as many tokens as it needs. Since we're not paying for it, it's not a problem. We don't need a maximum. And then stream false. That's not a stream. Streams are used for images, you know, because whenever you go through the network, you cannot send the whole image in one packet. You have to send it in chunks. So you have to use a stream. That's what a stream is about. All right, and do not add a comma here, otherwise you're going to end up having issues. Okay, great. So that's it for the body of the request. Now let's create the actual call. I'm going to do this in the next lecture so that you guys can have constricted and isolated piece of lessons.